Is the mic on? It's on. Please come in and take a seat, and the mic is really on. Welcome, everybody. Woo! Yeah, my name is Lars Eggert. I chair the IETF since a year ago. It's very, very nice to see all of you here in person. It really feels like an IETF meeting, although, as you probably can realize, we're not quite at the usual bench strength, but it does feel really good. It really feels like it's been a long time. It's been way too long. And I also hope the remote participants will have a chance to join us again at some time in the future, hopefully in Philadelphia or London later in the year or at any other time. And we're also hoping that the improvements we made to the tooling for remote participation because of Corona will have a sort of lasting impact that will open up the organization to more participants into the future. Because I really think we're not going to go back to the old style meeting for a while. And it's exciting to be here in person. It's also quite sad, and I'm pretty emotional about this, so I'm struggling a little bit here. But it's been sad because obviously because of COVID, we haven't really been able to meet for a long time, and some people had some extremely challenging years. And it remains an ongoing concern for many of us. But also walking around the city, right? You can't miss the signs that a war is going on right now. And it's a tragedy. And the war in Ukraine feels very personal because we know that some of our friends and families and colleagues are directly affected. And their personal safety and security is at stake, and their lives are in peril. So we worry about the safety of our Ukrainian colleagues and their families. And being so directly impacted makes it difficult to concentrate on the work of the IETF, which is making the internet work better. I personally sort of believe the internet is fundamentally about connecting people. And I can take some little bit of comfort because I choose to believe that doing so will hopefully allow us in the future to avoid needless wars. Thank you. That said, some things never change, and you can take a great comfort that the Note Well slide remains as unreadable as it has been for decades now. So if you're new to the organization, this is what we require of you as participants. Please try and read it. It's not very easy, but you should be familiar with it by now. There's some tips on how to participate here. When you join MeetEcho, which is the tool we're using for this plenary, your audio will be muted, and your video will be off. And when you like to speak from the floor, or I guess up on stage, please unmute yourself when you are recognized in the queue. And we ask you to share your video if you feel comfortable doing so, because it makes it a bit more personal. And if you have a headset, please use it. It makes a big difference. And there's a lot of other helpful tips that you can follow if you choose to do so. The agenda is very generic. I'm struggling through my welcome address, so thank you very much for bearing with me. We're going to have a brief update from our host, Huawei, who graciously, even though we moved the meeting out of Bangkok and to Vienna, have upheld their commitment to supporting us. So thank you very much for that. We're going to have brief updates from me about the IETF and the ISG. I asked Robert from the tools team to talk a little bit about the recent move to GitHub for some of our main tools, which will allow people to help with improving them much more directly than was possible in the past. Miri is going to give a brief update from the IAB. Colin is going to give a brief update from the IRTF. Jay and Jason are going to talk about the IETF LLC, and Glenn is going to talk about the trust. We have the usual recognition and in memoriam session, sadly, and we have open mic sessions for the LLC, the ISG, and the IAB in that order. With that, again, thank you to our meeting host, Huawei, without whom meetings like this wouldn't be possible. I want to ask Ryan from Huawei to say a few words, and if you can, turn on your video.
Yeah, Lars, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, because I tried several times, but I still cannot get the video permission. I don't know what happened. But anyway, I just want to spend only 2 minutes to express welcome and thank you to everybody here. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon for everybody here to join the IETF 113 in person and also online. This is Ryan Chu from Huawei, and I'm honored to as IETF 113 host to spend 2 minutes to express our thanks and welcome here. Really thanks to all the IETF 113 participants for joining the IETF meeting 113, and as well to the ALC, ISG, the leadership team for the hard work and the perfect organization arrangement. I still remember 2 years ago for IETF 107, the first virtual IETF meeting. Also, Huawei is working with ALC and ISG together to make the virtual meeting based on the challenge of the pandemic. And now, 2 years later, Huawei is still also honored to host the first hybrid meeting for 113. And as I know, because I'm not in person, I'm still just to join the meeting from Beijing. But we appreciate that more than 300 participants to join the 113 in person. To show that whatever happens, the whole IETF community will just stick together to support the IETF mission to make the internet working better. And so again, just want to thank all the IETF committee, all the IETF community. Thank you again, and please take care and be safe, healthy, and enjoy the IETF 113. And while we're here, I just wanted to say we're long term to commit and support all IETF community activities here. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you, Huawei, and your commitment. we really appreciate your long-term commitment to organization, and we have a beautiful wooden plaque, or it's actually going to be a glass plaque. This is the dummy version. I've not trusted with the real one because apparently I might drop it. We're going to make this come to you somehow, and thank you very much. Right, and again, also thank you to everybody else who made this meeting happen. I said it feels like an IETF meeting, and it kind of is, except for the mask and some of these other, Corona-specified things. But Secretariat has done an heroic job to pull this together, and the Corona restrictions in Austria were quite a bit more strict until very recently, and so all the planning went towards that much more strict type of meeting, which was even more work than what we have now. So thank you very much to Secretariat Meetecho, the NOC, all of which handled the relocation, which happened really late in the cycle from Bangkok to Vienna very well. The LLC did a good job, the tools team as always, and the hackathon support, great job, thank you. Which brings me to the boring part, which is the chair report. Participant statistics and a few other of the usual suspects we're going to go through very quickly, so we have time for open mic. We did see an uptick in registration numbers. We are just under 1,400 total, just over 300 on-site and 1,100 remote, which is about in line with the regular quote-unquote European meeting. So we did see a significant uptick in the last 2 weeks to normal numbers. We used almost 250 fee waivers, which is great. Allows people that otherwise couldn't afford to participate remotely. We're going to continue the fee waiver program into the future, so there will always be a free remote participation option at IETFs. We had 231 hackathon registrations, which considering, 134 of those were online, so a lot more of the online people actually went to the hackathon, for 50%. Roughly, it's great. And we had a lot of people participating remotely. Statistics by country, I think this is for the total number of participants. You can see it's the usual split, more or less. And I think I have an extra slide that I haven't seen yet on this breakdown between on-site and remote. So join me in looking at this slide for the first time. We have, as I said, 300 people on-site and about 1,100 remote. And the breakdown, glancing from up here, looks pretty much identical. So I don't know what we learned from that, but apparently the COVID did not keep some regions of the world further away than others. So that's, I guess, good. Okay, I'm getting corrected from the floor. The colors are different, okay. Well, since I can't read the font, do what you will with that information. So I guess we will, I will stop analyzing things I can't read. But you can look at these in the minutes. Right, future meetings. We have a bunch of different ways. So we have for a while now had to support at IETF.org email address, which is your one-stop shop for anything. Goes into the ticket system and you get directed to the right person for your request. If you have something urgent about the meeting or something else, it's typically a good idea to email that rather than some random mailing list where the secretariat is not hanging out to handle your requests immediately. For tools specifically, it's also a good idea to email tools discuss. Jay is about to send out the post 113 survey, which has a bunch of new questions because it's our first hybrid meeting. And we do want to know how that worked for you, especially those of you who are here, but also those of you who are using the remote tooling for the first time. And we have the SHMU working group that is still meeting as far as I remember, which is our general agenda area group that talks about meeting related things. Right. We have a few things that are experiments or planned actions. We have an ongoing comment period on the proposal to archive discussions between document authors and the RPC during Auth 48. I think it runs until tomorrow, so if you have strong feelings, you have a day to send them. We are constantly tweaking the way we review BOFs, proposals for new work, because they're important. So we're scheduling when you need to submit them by, how we're reviewing them, so that we can give you feedback. We're also looking at running more virtual/interim BOFs. And these are not necessarily new because we've had them, but very rarely in the past. And we recently decided there's, specifically because of the pandemic, really no reason to try and have more of those. It seems silly that proponents of an idea have to work until the next meeting just to have a session. And we discussed that we're going to create this important news announcement list, which is going to be very low volume, but will also go to everybody with a data tracker account because we need a way to communicate with you guys. Right, we had 0 appeals since the last IETF, so thank you for that. And we did one statement on how you should, as an author, understand when you get ISG ballot position emails. And I think the short version is don't freak out. It's not as bad as you think it is. There's a lot more written reports, including ours, at the URL there that you can look at. There's also the IETF blog that sort of gets fresh content every once in a while. That's also worth checking out. And now I'd like to hand over to Robert from the tools team, and I can try to give you control. Except I can't.
Testing, testing.
I can hear you. I'm just trying to make you able to drive the slides. How's this?
It looks like it's updating. All right.
You should be able to drive.
So, hello everyone. Let's see if my next slide. Yes, as Lars mentioned, there's been a lot of activity around the repositories for the tools that we use at the IETF. We are completing a project to move the largest ones to GitHub. These are on the slide. These are 3 of nearly 50 repositories that are available in the IETF tools organization at GitHub. I encourage everyone to go explore all of them. Now that we're at GitHub, we're asking that people use it for bug reports and feature requests using the issues and discussion mechanisms that are at GitHub. And you can also send email to toolsdiscuss@ietf.org, which is a backstop for people that have any difficulties using GitHub for whatever reason. Please take a moment when you can to read the contributing document that I've got on the slide. You can find it linked from the README from each of the repositories. That'll give you a good overview of how you can engage if you want to work on the code beyond providing bug reports and feature requests and engaging in the discussions. And join our code sprints when you can. Watch the tools discuss list for when these are going to occur. The tools discuss list is also a good place to send code contributions if for some reason you have no ability to push things directly to GitHub. I will always be willing to take patches directly and manipulate things into the repositories on your behalf. The tools team meets regularly. You can watch for their meetings in the upcoming meetings calendar, and we have a set of workshops that we're working on scheduling. You can look in that repository to find out what they're about. I also wanted to point to a new set of resources that are available to us at authors.ietf.org. There are tools up there that describe how to author, how to convert things from, they provide tools for converting things from the authoring formats into the various rendering formats and doing diffs. We'll also have a bibxml service up there very soon. The last comment that I'd like to make is look at the discussion on Tools Discuss about the work that we're doing on the way the data tracker looks. We're currently moving very quickly towards a major update to the look and feel of the data tracker. You can find information on the Tools Discuss list about how to see what that's going to look like and help us find any issues in it before it becomes production if you have the time to contribute. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. And I think I remember that the author tools IETF doc, while it is so working for many people already, it's still considered beta. And so if you find issues, please report them. It's much better than the old tool that we had already, but I think there's still some things that are still being improved. So thanks for that. And I think next we're going to hand over to Miria, who gives the IAB report. And do I need to take back control here? I have control.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm also very happy to be here, see you all in person. I don't know if you recognize, but I've been the IAB chair for 2 years, and this is the first time I'm standing here, so very exciting. Hopefully next time we will see even more faces in person again. We're excited about that. And we're excited to be here to work together with all of you. Given this is quite early for plenary for us, but quite late for a lot of people online, again, I will try to be very quick. I only have a few slides. My first slide is, as usually, all the other information that I don't tell you here today are in the report, so you can pick them from the proceedings and read them yourself. And I'm only reporting a little bit here on like the important admin stuff, but if you're actually interested what the IAB is doing otherwise and interested in engaging with some technical discussion with the IAB, we have the IAB open session tomorrow. So there will be a little bit more reporting tomorrow about what we actually do, and there will be a discussion about centralization, or actually how to encounter centralization tomorrow. So it would be great to see you all there. Maybe not all of you because it's a smaller room, but many of you. Oh, sorry. Now I skipped some slides. Yeah, I skipped this important slide. So one of the big announcements today is that we have a new independent submission editor. The IAB recently appointed Elliot Lear to take over this position. Unfortunately, he is not here today. But I'm sure you maybe had a chance to meet him online. There were office hours, and hopefully we will see him next time again. And like, he's pretty well known to many of you, I think. Otherwise, all I can give you at this point is this photo here. And I would also like to take the opportunity to say thank you to Adrian again. I already announced last time that he decided to step down after 4 years. So this transition had just happened recently. He already stepped down. He's unfortunately also not here. So like, again, no chance to have a nice dinner with him, but we will ship him some chocolate from Vienna. So we got this extra large box for you, Adrian. Okay, one more thing I would like to take a few minutes for is to announce the outcome of the IAB program that is designing a new RFC editor model, because this program has basically concluded its work. It's still open if we need to pick up anything again, but effectively we are done here, and the new model has changed quite a bit. I've presented a few hints about this at the last plenaries already. But if you want to know all the details, you probably have to read the document, so I will not go through this here. I just wanted to report back where we are. And the status is that the program is basically ready with their work and handed it to the IAB. We already had like a 4-week community feedback call, and we got a lot of feedback because we reached out to many community members and asked for reviews actively to make sure people are aware and we have considered all different angles. And we got a lot of good feedback. Fortunately, we didn't get any like big issues out of that. I mean, there were definitely some concerns, but nothing that we didn't discuss at length in the program already, and nothing that we didn't consider. So there's a bunch of clarifications and make sure we're going in the right direction here. So the IAB has also reviewed the last version which was like just published a few days ago, was like the last editorial changes and effectively approved this document. What we're doing right now is we're actually waiting for 3 additional documents that are small updates to existing process documents that are going through the IETF stream. These have effectively also been approved by the IHG to a certain extent already, but one of the documents, we missed something, as always, so there will be another working IETF last call, and that's what we're waiting for. But yeah, to make the message short, is like we're done and we're heading forwards, and thank you everybody who was involved, because that was quite a big effort at the end. Thanks to the chairs, to the editor of the document, everybody being involved in the discussion, all the reviewers. I think it's good to see that we work productively together and get this done. Yeah, and this is my last slide, also as usually an opportunity to thank those people that we appoint into different positions. We already have selected somebody for the ISOC Board of Trustees, but we will wait for the announcement to coordinate with ISOC respectively, so this is still a secret. But I can thank Peter, who has been reappointed to the ICANN Technical Liaison Group, to taking over this position again, or keeping this position. And then this is also always a good chance for us to tell you about our open calls. Do you want to say something, Lars? The mic is not even on. The mic is not working.
Something about that. It's not on there.
It's on there. Yeah, but I see like this is very important to Lars, so I make sure I point it out carefully. We have 2 open calls. One is for the ICANN root server systems government working group, and now Jared wants to say something, but the mic is still not working.
Yeah, maybe it'll work. But I'm guessing that in the future we may need to use a larger font size for the future IETF meetings.
I think it's this green background color which is irritating here. Okay, let me start again, because that is important for the IAB. So we have 2 open calls. One is for the ICANN root server government working group. So this group isn't supposed to be around forever, but we're looking for somebody committing to kind of work until the end of this kind of project, which will be, you know, who knows? It's like the IETF, nobody has deadlines, but it will be in commitment for like 1 or 2 years, hopefully. Ted was serving us in this position, but because the process got delayed, he's not able to take this position up anymore. So we're really looking for somebody who can be engaged in this important process. And thanks for Ted serving in this position. And then now, Lars, we have another open call. Together with the ISG, we are looking for 2 people to share the new RFC series working group. That was the outcome of the program that I just talked about. And this is also very important because it's a very new process. So we're looking for people who can engage there and help the community to move forward in this. So if you're volunteering for that, as always, send us an email or propose people who I think are qualified, or talk to people and convince them that they should put their name in. Okay, that's it from my side. Okay, Colin will be next up, and I should have switched to the next slide, but you can do it yourself now.
Yes. Hi, can I just check the sound is working?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you, Maria. This is the IETF report. My name is Colin Perkins. I'm the IETF chair. What I wanted to do is just very briefly mention a couple of activities the IETF is involved with running, which are unrelated to the research groups that we also run. The first of these is the Applied Networking Research Prize, which we run in conjunction with the Internet Society and with sponsorship from Comcast and NBC Universal. The Applied Networking Research Prize is here to recognize some of the best recent results in applied networking research. It's here to recognize some interesting new research ideas which may be of eventual relevance to the standards community. And it's here to recognize upcoming people that are likely to have an impact on the internet standards and technologies going forward. We made 2 ANRP Applied Networking Research Prize Awards during the IETF Open meeting yesterday. These went to Sangeeta Abdujyoti, who had a really nice paper on the resilience of the internet infrastructure to solar superstorms. And to Bruce Spang, who also had some really good work showing that network A/B testing algorithms can be biased in the presence of network congestion. As I say, these were 2 really excellent talks. If you're interested in these topics, I would encourage you to take a look. The talks are available on the IETF website, and the full version of Sangeeta's talk is there, and a shorter version of Bruce's talk. And the recordings of the full talk should also be available on the IETF channel on YouTube. In addition to the prizes, we also run the Applied Networking Research Workshop in conjunction with ACM SIGCOMM. The 2022 version of this workshop will co-locate with the July IETF meeting. I'm pleased to announce that TJ Chung from Virginia Tech and Marwan Fayed from Cloudflare have agreed to co-chair that workshop. The call for papers went out yesterday and is on the website. And please do consider submitting your work if you're doing research that may be relevant. As I say, it's a forum for those to present new work related to applied networking research. And the deadline for submissions there is the end of April. Okay, and that's everything I have. I will now pass over to, I guess, Jay is coming next. Thank you.
Thanks, Colin. Hi, I'm Jay Daly. I'm the IETF Executive Director. You probably see me at all of the plenaries, but last time in person was Singapore in 2019, my first in-person meeting. So to kick off for the LRC part of things. First of all, thank you to Huawei, our global host and meeting host. As Lars said, they've been very, very helpful to us over a long period now. It's difficult, I think, for many organizations to understand what value they get from sponsoring a meeting that has lower in-person attendance, where you don't know who's going to be here, you don't know what exposure you get, but Huawei have taken the risk with us a couple of times now, and that's very much appreciated. Thank you. And a big thanks to Cisco and Juniper and Cisco through WebEx meetings for their equipment and services sponsorship. I don't know if you know this, but the value of the equipment we get off these people is extraordinary. It really does help us. So run the meetings and do all sorts of things with that. And also a special shout out to Hurricane Electric and some of the other people that also provide us equipment and services to help things in the background. For this meeting and for this year, we have Akamai and Cisco, who are our Gold Diversity Inclusivity sponsors. This is good to find that we have people who are, as well as sponsoring us for specific meetings, are also helping sponsor us on a values basis throughout the year. Very much helps us work throughout that year. And Huawei are also a silver sponsor for diversity and inclusivity, so thank you for that. And then we have the domain name industry steaming in here with VeriSign, Donuts, and CNNIC as bronze sponsors on the diversity, inclusivity, and the running code side of things. So thank you very much for that. And then finally, a special shout out to NextLayer, who are the local company who have provided the network here, who offered to do all the letters of invitation and have been very helpful, doing a lot of work for us. Thank you very much. Next layer. So, as Lars said, we have a lot of volunteers who come and give their time. On the code sprint on Saturday, we had a whole bunch of people who participated there. Thank you very much. It's a very, very serious room when you go into the code sprint. It's not quite the same as the hackathon, shall we say, you know. People take it very seriously and get a lot of stuff done. I'm impressed at how quickly people can adapt to that. And the NOC, so thank you very much to people in the NOC, and also thank you to their employers who allow them to dedicate their time to do things and to create the 650 different networks that IETF participants require. That's absolutely fantastic. Thank you. And there are, as you probably know, some dashboards around that shows the stuff from the NOC that you might find useful to look at. We, as we're now meeting again, we've been able to take the Secretariat out of deep freeze, and they're back here. So thank you very much, Secretariat, for running an excellent meeting again. And thank you also for our COVID officer who's been ensuring that we'll wear our masks at the right times. We on the NOC side, we have the contracting crew from Lionspeed, thank you. And of course, we have Meet Echo who are here in numbers to help support us and to get the best from the product, thank you. On our tools team, we have a set of contractors who are dedicated to all the tool side of things, and then the LLC staff, and we have a number of the LLC staff here as well. So please come up and say hello to meet us. IETF 114 will be in Philadelphia. I expect a minimum of 1,500 people to attend, please. There will be plenty of opportunities for doing rocky poses on steps and things, okay? I shall ensure we'll just have a photographer for that if necessary. So please come along. I think, you know, I'm very glad that you all made the effort to come here. That's been very helpful. And for all the people online, you know, try to come to Philadelphia if you can so that we can make this into a, you know, a very much bigger meeting in person. That'd be great for us. So the bulk of our meeting funding comes from our global hosts and global supporters. These are companies that sign up to us for 6 or 9 years, give us money every year towards that, and then host these meetings. And without them, really, we could not run the meetings. They're extraordinarily generous. So thank you to Cisco, thank you to Comcast, Ericsson, Huawei, Juniper, NBC Universal, and Nokia. Your commitment is tremendous, particularly over the long terms. It's very difficult for, I think, for people to get budgets in corporates to last this long, and they do. So I'm very impressed by that. Thank you. So these are our upcoming meetings. We have Philadelphia, then we have London in later in the year in November. We still working on Asia for 116. We hope to have an announcement about that soon. It's a bit complicated because of COVID to make contractual arrangements with hotels. To put it bluntly, they don't believe that we're not going to cancel. So it's just taking a bit of time for us to arrange these things, but hopefully that will be arranged soon. We have San Francisco, one of the rearranged meetings, Prague, and then Asia, which we're looking at one of the moved meetings from, and Vancouver, which was a moved meeting. So we are filling up the pipeline of meetings coming forward. We are still interested in new ideas and new places to go to and things, or old ideas and old places to go to. For example, I'm told that London has been completely rebuilt, and we probably won't lose that many of you there this time. So, you know, please let us know your favourite locations. Right, the registration numbers. I think those might be slightly out, actually. So we'll look at those later. Lars's figures are the ones to believe on that currently. Right, so this is us, the staff. That's me approximately 25 years ago on the left, but why would I change the picture? And then we have Greg Wood over there, our Director of Operations, Lee Berkeley Shaw, our Director of Development, Kasara, one of our software developers, is somewhere in the room, and Nick is another software developer who's not joined us this time. Right, so a small thing about the IETF endowment. So the IETF endowment is created to support the IETF and its activities in the long term, to give us long-term sustainability. We are basically trying to raise money so that then at some point in the future, it would be possible to live off the interest of or the investment income from the endowment, if that's the case. It gives us a diversity of income, makes us not reliant on any particular funder, and not reliant on any particular industry or set of companies in that way. It's something we would like to get to. And we have a goal of trying to raise $50 million by 2027. This is particularly useful, particularly helped at the moment by a commitment from the Internet Society to match fund any donations we get. So on the first 12 million, we get a 2-to-1 match funding. And then on the subsequent 6 million, we get a 1-to-1 match funding. So Internet Society could end up giving us 30 million off us raising 18 million. So that's a huge amount that really is very useful for us. So if you can help persuade your companies in any way to please help us, then please let us know, certainly. For 2021 donors are, we had RIPE, thank you, LACNIC, and Google, and over a dozen individual donations, including some very generous ones from individuals. So thank you very much. And in total, we raised, $239,000 US, which with the match gives us 718,000. So, and Lee Berkeley Shaw over there waving is our Director of Development. If you have a spare million or two, or your company is looking for some way of showing that it properly is investing in the internet, she is the person to speak to. Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to hand over to Jason, who I do not see on the list of participants. Ah, I've got it, yeah. Yep. Yeah, I have to hand over the slides. I've got it. Perfect, yeah. Yes, I did it, yeah. Perfect, thank you.
All right. Looks like it's passed over to me successfully, I think. So thank you, Jay. Appreciate your presentation, and thanks everyone for attending, whether in person or virtually. This will be a brief IETF LLC update, so it should be pretty easy. This has not changed since the last meeting. These are the folks that serve on the board. Thank you for all of their time as volunteers. These are the upcoming meetings that we have scheduled right now. April, May, June, basically monthly. The meetings are completely open, so you're welcome to join. We do have open Q&A during the public part, so certainly feel free to join. If you're not able to join at a particular time, you can also send questions in and so on. And we are also working on, as I'll mention shortly, planning a strategic planning retreat. And as with prior years, we'll have large sections of time where people can observe and ask questions and so on. So in terms of the current work, things that we have recently completed this year since the last meeting or are currently working on, we've made changes to the investment policy following recommendations from our financial advisors, Goldman Sachs. In essence, increasing our exposure to equity investments and also considering the possibility of private equity investments over time, similar to many other nonprofit funds. We've also been working, obviously, on this meeting, working with the executive director, Jay, and all of the other folks here, and in particular the NOC team, to make sure that the first hybrid meeting got carried off all right, and be very much looking forward to feedback, because I think, as probably Lars said at the beginning, this is a model that will likely persist for some time, and making it work great for both in-person and on-site and remote, participants is important. Number 3, we've been assessing potential policy needs and changes related to antitrust. There's been some list discussion about that, of course, and we're inching closer and closer to sort of a final decision on some of those things. So stay tuned. And of course, as I think Jay may have noted, he's relocated now to the United Kingdom, to the London area, Greater London from New Zealand. And so we've had to do a bunch of legal and benefits changes with our employment management company, and lots of odd, intricate sort of legal changes, but important stuff to get right to take care of our employees like Jay. We're obviously also planning the annual strategic planning retreat. We should have some dates out fairly soon. And again, as I noted, welcome participation. And we've been increasing focus on fundraising. So that fundraising topic is now on our monthly agenda, and it's something that we are focusing on all the time to see that we're making maximum use of that ISOC program. In terms of prior fiscal year operating budget, this will look a lot better as we enter into 2022 because we had the sort of outstanding accounting issue with the way that ISOC funding got recognized last fiscal year, or 2 fiscal years ago, excuse me. So last fiscal year ends up looking odd. We'll have audited results, in the relatively near future, and everything is generally on track. I think we've continued to weather the COVID-19 disruptions fairly well. But again, a lot of the weird variances that we see are just due to this one-time ISOC thing, and that is should not be an issue for this fiscal year. So it'll be easier to read our financial statements. And of course, these are all the ways that you can get in contact with us. Feel free to reach out at any time on any subject in any of these different ways that you'd like. And of course, lots of different webpage links here in terms of meeting minutes, financial statements, and so on. So thank you. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Glenn.
Hello, everybody. And it looks like you have control. Awesome. Hi, I'm Glenn Dean from Comcast NBC Universal, and I am the chair of the IETF Trust. So these are the 5 trustees. They are selected by the IETF NomCom. One of them is selected by the ISAC Board of Trustees, and one is selected by the IESG. And we've been the same sort of group now for a few years, which is good because having trustees around that sort of know the lay of the land, it's always good to have people that are well engaged and well aware of the background. These are some boilerplate slides because a lot of people, don't really know what the trust does. We're a pretty quiet bunch, and that's a good thing because we deal with legal stuff, and when legal things are nice and quiet, that's the ideal situation. But basically, we hold IP assets. This is like copyrights and trademarks and domains and software licenses on behalf of the IETF, IANA, ICANN, and broader internet-related activities. And we make sure these things are protected and free to use as appropriate, but also that we don't accidentally lose control of them through some slippage around, not complying with laws and jurisdictional requirements. We're currently a Virginia Common Trust. We're a nonprofit. And as I said, we have 5 trustees. We're a small group. Well, the budget is about $100,000. Keep it light, keep it tight. And most of that goes towards legal fees. What I want to talk to you today about, though, is that the trust is having a bit of a problem. And it revolves around insurance. Trusts, when we were created back in 2005, have evolved a lot. And we historically carry a lot of insurance on our professional liability and directors and officers insurance to protect the trustees. When you sign up to be a trustee, because of the nature of trust, trustees literally own the trust. They are the owners of all of the assets of the trust, and they are themselves, their personal liabilities are intertwined with the trust and its assets and the activity. So if the trust gets sued, one of the consequences is that trustees themselves can be named as part of the suit. So we carry a lot of good insurance on that to protect the people who volunteer to become trustees. All trustees are not compensated, they're all volunteers. And we've run into a problem. The last few years, we've tried to increase the amount of coverage through our insurance broker to a level that is appropriate for both inflation and the legal risk that we see in the landscape. The trouble is that the market for insurance providers for trusts really is very limited. There's very few companies that provide it, and those that do provide it, like the one we currently use, aren't interested in increasing the limits. Part of this is because the trusts are very often these days used for other activities such as real estate holdings, generational wealth management, tax efficiency, and not so much used for what we do, protecting the IP materials for the IETF and the other parties that we work with. So this has created a problem for us. We've been scratching our heads about how to deal with this for the last few years. And so we're looking at the landscape and maybe making some changes to the IETF trust structure. Related to this is, as I mentioned, the individual trustee liability. The current structure of the trust, because the trustees themselves own the trust and all the assets, they themselves take on a lot of legal liability. And in fact, when you become a trustee, we give you a document that says, hey, read this over. And by the way, don't just read this and sign it quickly. Read this over. It has a lot of stuff you are taking on. And anecdotally, we know there are people within the IETF community that have seriously considered being a trustee, looked at this and said, oh, no. That's I'm not going to take on that personal liability for myself. The risk is just too high. And so we've been sort of trying to figure out the path forward, given these two key issues that are causing us, personal liability, making our pool of trustee candidates smaller, and proper insurance levels to make sure the ones that do get selected and serve are well protected. And one of the things we've observed is that while trusts have a lot of these problems, corporations don't. And it breaks down to that corporations have within the legal frameworks that they operate under more protection for directors, because directors aren't owners, they're just demoted to from an owner down to a person serving to help run the corporation. And they have more legal liabilities that help them, along with there's a very large insurance market that will provide insurance coverage to such entities. So we're exploring the possibility of restructuring the IETF trust on a legal basis into a not-for-profit corporation from a trust. Now, in reality, very little would change outwardly if we did this, right? All the trust's current assets would just transfer over to the new entity. All the current licenses we do, and the way we do them, and the way we make them available for people to use would all transfer as well. We're going to demote the trustees, though. They would get demoted to just be directors. No longer would they be owners. And we would also move from Virginia, probably to Delaware, where in the United States it's very popular to do incorporations. The IETF LLC, for instance, is in fact based in Delaware. What would not change? The role and service to the IETF and all the other communities that make use of the trust's assets would not change in any way. Licenses would stay the same, and we would continue to be a 501c3 entity, so nonprofit. As well, the other thing we're not even proposing to change is how the trustees are selected, or in this case, the new directors would be selected. There would still be 5 of them. The selection process would still follow the process, by RFC 8714. But it would just be the legal definition of how we're registered as an entity that would basically trust it changed. So that's pretty big to lay on the community. There's an obvious question. Why don't we just fold this under the IETF LLC? We went all the work to create it. Why don't we just fold it under? And I won't go into this slide in detail, but there are some dependencies upon the trust being an independent entity that have been established from the very beginning, and along with some requirements that because the LLC is associated with ISOC as an entity, officially disregarded entity by ISOC, transferring the assets of the trust to the LLC would effectively be given an arm's length relationship to ISOC. And both the original founding agreement from 2005 had a particular restriction that can't be done with the trust's assets. And then later on in 2016, when we did the IANA transition, and the trust took on some service to IANA and ICANN communities, that was done with the expectation that the trust was an independent entity. So we've looked at this, and we don't think this is an option. So we've been looking at this, we've been consulting with attorneys, and so what we're going to do is the following. We are going to open up a consultation with the communities that make use of the trust. This includes the IETF, ICANN, the RARs. We're going to use the TLP interest list over at the IETF.org for comments and questions. And we're going to hold a multi-hour webinar in April for anybody that's interested in this topic to come and talk. We're going to explain why we're thinking of what we're going to do, how it would look, and then open for discussion. Opinions, concerns, ideas. We want to hear from people. We're not just going to go off and do this, in a vacuum. This is a community conversation to have to figure out what the right path forward for the trust and for the assets it manages are. And with that, here's how you can contact us in general. And I will pass it on to Lars.
Thanks, Glenn. Ooh, this is again very hot. Thank you. And we're coming to the recognition of the outgoing leadership part of the agenda. And Jared will be happy to hear that the rumors of my diminishing eyesight are vastly over-exaggerated, but my glasses do fog up when I wear a mask. So I actually did not see that thing on the slide earlier. I'm very sorry, but everybody's paying attention. That's great. Right. First up is the outgoing IAB members.
Yeah, and we have two outgoing IB members that I would like to thank for their service today. Both of them have served for 2 years on the IAB, so they have been fully virtual IAB members. I think that was challenging, but I at least had still a good time working with them. I would like to start with Jared because he is actually here in person, so at least I had finally a chance to meet him in person after 2 years of only online meetings. We had a couple of chats online as well, so I do have the feeling I actually know you well, but it's not the same. And so I'm happy that we at least met at this very last meeting. I think despite the challenges we had the last 2 years with the virtual setup, it was great to have you on the IAB. You have strong opinions very often, but but it's good to have different angles, and we had some discussions. We do agree on a couple of points, but sometimes also disagree. And it's very important for the IAB to have all these different views in the discussion and make sure we represent in this way also a little bit the community. So in order to remember your time at the IAB, we brought you a little present. So this is it. You can come up if you want. This is a water bottle which is branded for you with the IEB dot on here, so you will never use it. So that's for you.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
And we brought you a little bit of chocolate as well. Smaller pocket than Adrian, but that's also for you.
Oh. Thank you.
Yeah, I took Jared first because Ben, we also got you a bottle and we will ship it to you. And of course, you will also get some chocolate from Vienna. So Ben, as I just said, was also on the IAB for 2 years. At least for me, it was a little bit easier because I was serving together with Ben on the IHG already, so I know him very well. He has always been a very, very kind person and contributed to the discussion always in a calm and kind way. He was always there to pick up any tasks if needed. So we would definitely also miss you on the IAB, Ben. And I hope very much that next time we will see at a meeting, we will have a nice dinner together and chat about past times a little bit more. Thank you very much, Ben.
Right, and I will hand, we'll do the ISG recognition next. But first I want to say actually Ben was also the liaison during the last year at least to the IESG, and so we've worked with him as well. And Ben has written some of the best short reports from the ISG, on what the to the IAB on what the ISG is doing. And they're so good that I actually internally forward them to my boss and say, this is what I did this week. And there's always like 3 things that I forgot about, but Ben didn't forget it. He put them in. It's a nicely bulleted list, and it's been extremely useful. And whoever we get, and we need that level of reporting was excellent. So thank you, Ben, also from the ISG. Which brings us to a slide I don't see here, but I see it there, which are the outgoing ISG members. Benjamin Kadek for the security area, and Martin Vigora for the transport area is wrong. He was routing. So testing me here, huh? I'm awake. So Martin for the routing area. Some of you in the audience have done this job, and some of you remotely have done this job, and you know it's often thankless. And both of them are unfortunately not here. So when the open mic later on gets boring, maybe take a minute and send them a message and thank them for their service. Because while it can be, not often fun to argue with an AD who has requests for you as an author, I think that the reviews actually do help make the documents better. And we need people like that are willing to serve and ask the hard questions and do the work. So thank you very much, Ben and Martin. And with that, I want to pass over to John.
Thanks. Give me the slides. You can actually just forward it too, either way.
I think I'm giving you control.
Yeah, there we go. So, Susan R. Harris. It was always Susan, never Sue. And the R is really important because she worked with both Susan Hares and another Susan Harris. So it was Susan R. Harris. She passed away on March 6th after a short and she'd probably have said inconvenient battle with cancer. Susan was an outstanding writer and nerd whisperer. And in the days before everyone knew that, of course, the internet was going to be a big deal, she was instrumental in explaining it to decision makers who needed to know that this was important stuff. She played a key part in getting Nanog off the ground as it evolved from the earlier NSFNet regional text group. She authored a number of important RFCs, notably the DAO of IETF, the discussion list charter. Her license plate was RFC 3005, the guidelines for conduct. Her keen skills as a writer and an editor were complemented by her dry, self-deprecating wit and her generosity of spirit. She was a good coworker, collaborator, colleague, and a friend. I'll miss her. I know many of you will too. Thank you.
Thank you, John. That was great. And we will miss her. Next up is the open mic for the LLC. So those of you who are in the room, would you please make your way to the stage? And those of you who might have questions for the LLC, make your way to the microphones. And please use the on-site tool or the full version of MeetEcho to insert yourself into the queue. And you can probably see if you are close to being up, and if you are, make your way to a microphone. Thank you. And I can't see the queue other than there, but I see Barry. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Barry Leva. Jay, I want to thank you for relocating to London in preparation for our meeting there, making sure that you're local and helping out. And I expect you to continue your nomadic life as we make up meetings in Bangkok and Madrid. So, but that's not why I got up. I wanted to talk about a bit about the IETF endowment for a moment. We are now, for several meetings, had an option on the registration to donate a little money to the IETF. And I've been doing that for the last few meetings and maybe since it's been available. And it's an easy way to chuck a few extra bucks there. And I was talking with Lee Berkeley during the hackathon, and she said, now that money is going to the endowment, so it's getting the benefit of the matched funds from ISOC. So I just wanted to encourage everybody to take advantage of that. It's just easy, check the box, whatever, put in however much you can throw at us, and continue supporting the IETF financially as well as technically. Thanks.
Thank you, Barry. That was great. I didn't hear a question, but that's okay. Do we have somebody else queuing up? I don't think so. Okay, this was very short. Thank you very much. Up next is the IASG. And this is where we hand over the dots. So I think that might be the next slide. No, but we'll do it anyway. I have a role. So if you're misbehaving, you might also get stuck with one of these later on in the bar. But for now, we have a new incoming security area director who gets his dot, which is Paul Wouters. And Andrew Alston is a running ID who is not able to be here, but Andrew, we're going to hold your dot for the retreat, and we're going to stick it on you there. Thank you both for joining us and serving. Paul, where are you? Right, and I think we go down from Paul and tell us who you are. Ah, the online load. Sorry, the secret language of the IETF has become German, in case you weren't aware yet. So, fair point, Mirja. I think in the interest of camera fiddling, we're going to unfortunately skip the online people, but I think for those of you in the room, it would be nice to do the traditional, let's go down the table. So let's do that. Paul.
Paul Wouters, incoming security.
Rob Wilson, and I'm the Ops Management AD.
Aurora Thana, Routing AD.
Mia Kulewind, IAB Chair.
Lois Eggert, Jen.
Warren Kamari, Ops AD.
Martin Duke, Transport.
Erik Wink, Internet.
Francesca Palombini, RTD.
And I do see Andrew up there on the screen, so since he's the other incoming area director, Andrew, why don't you introduce yourself? You're muted.
So can we finish this table though?
Oh.
Jahed Jaman Sarkar, Jahed, Transport AD.
This is not my day. Andrew, please. You're still muted. While Andrew is trying to unmute you, I will tell you that he sent me a message on the Slack saying, is there a way for my wife to watch this without being registered? And I said, yes, there's a YouTube link. And then he went downstairs to give her the link, and she said, she invited a whole bunch of friends over, and they're having a party to see me become an area director, which is great. So I hope you enjoy your party, and do you have audio now?
I'm hoping we've got audio.
Yes, you do.
Ah, there we go. Andrew Alston, incoming routing AD.
Thank you. And remote, we have Murray from Art. We have John from Routing. We have Roman from Transport. What are you doing with Transport? Why is there Roman, who is not in Transport, but in Security. We have Eric Klein, who is in INT. We have Ben Kadek, who's outgoing for Security. Rob Wilton's here, Warren Kamari's here. Okay, that's it, I think. Questions? Martin, oh yeah. Martin was outgoing Routing. Questions for the IESG, please. Do we have people in the queue? I think you guys forgot how this works. I mean, I'll take it, but I'm confused. Okay. No questions for the ISG at all? So be it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And up next is the IAB, please.
Okay, I hope that doesn't mean we get all the questions now. Yeah, please come up. Yeah, and we will try to do the same. So we start on this side, Yari. Just for some change. It's on.
It's just on.
Okay. Yari Arco, IAB member.
Jared Mach, outgoing IAB.
Lars Eggert, IETF chair.
Mia Kulevin, still IAB chair.
David Skenazy, Internet Architecture Enthusiast.
Okay, and then I will try to read you the online people, but you also have them on the screen. So we have Ben as outgoing, we have Deborah there, Wes is with us, Cullen, Senbin, David, you're here. We have Tommy, Russ, Jian Khan, Colin as the IRTF chair. John should be with us as the temporary RFC series editor. Mallory, new incoming IAB member, and Chin, also new incoming IAB member. And now we would take questions. We have one person in the room even. Perfect.
Same problem every time. Lars Johan Liemann from NetNode. This is not actually a question, but offering my as a volunteer to the. You mentioned before that you're looking for a volunteer to sit on the root service system governance working group.
Thank you very much. I think you have to write us an email for that.
I'm already on it. That's the point. If anyone on here wants to know anything about what's going on in that working group, I think I'm the only actual member from that working group. There you are, sir. I forgot. So there are at least two of us here then. So if you have any questions about that, come and see me. I won't offer you without your consent, but I'm here if you want to talk about it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for showing your face so people can find you. Yeah, this is definitely. Thank you. Yes, the mask. Yes, this is definitely a position where we're really looking for a qualified volunteer who can bring in some knowledge and help guiding the process there.
So I'd just like to comment, one of the things that's always a unique challenge is there's a lot of positions the IAB does end up appointing for. And so definitely talk to your local IAB member, including, I'm willing to answer questions as well about stuff. So we're always we've always been looking for good candidates for many of the positions. So if you have extra time, please let us know.
Yeah, that's also a good point. So it's like some of these positions we need very specified expertise. So it's not like a huge set where you should drawing from. And it's always hard to find a diverse set of candidates and also selecting people who might bring in some more diversity into some of these boards. So the more volunteers we have for any of these positions, the better. You really, really want to go out and enjoy life there, right? Yeah, me too, it's fine. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Yes.
You all look very confused.
That's in the last half hour of the last session. You applied it. You're done with your 8 to 10 meetings now. Congratulations. Actually, that's not really up to you. Friday would be better. I prepare a little bit. Another